A spiritual circumcision. It is a strange phrase to our modern sensibilities. You might even hear that and think, spiritual circumcision is not really what I'm looking for out of a faith practice. So I want to explore what this may have sounded like to the Jewish audiences of the time. When a Jewish baby boy is born, and I want to clarify this is primarily for boys. These days we do them for baby girls as well. We have the same sort of ceremony with a few differences. I had one. Ask me later. I have a funny story about my Hebrew name. So when a Jewish baby is born, on the 8th day of his life, he is celebrated in a special ceremony called a bris. And at this ceremony, the baby is circumcised, and they are given their Hebrew name. Special blessings are said over the baby, religious rituals are performed, and it is considered the full welcome of that individual into the community and into their covenant with God. And if this is sounding more familiar to you as like a christening or a baptism, or in certain cultures a 100-day celebration, you've got it. Most cultures have a similar tradition of welcoming a child as a beloved member of the community and establishing that they will always have an unconditional place at our table. And now, traditionally, this bris takes place 8 days after a baby is born. And in Jewish law, this is to ensure that the baby has experienced at least one Sabbath, which happens every 7 days. But there's also much more practical wisdom to waiting 8 days before celebrating and welcoming a new baby, especially because this is a practice that comes from ancient times before we had things like vitamin K shots and ultrasounds. And so this period of waiting gave mother and baby time to rest and recover, and it helped ensure the baby was strong enough for the celebration. Waiting those 8 days and then having this big celebration is like saying, okay, you're here. You're really here. Thank God. Welcome. And so I think this celebration of a baby's 8th day, celebrating the baby making it to its 8th day, which in those times was something to celebrate, it represents what is to me a sort of paradox of God's presence in our lives. God's loving presence is unconditional, right? God loves us no matter what, anywhere, anytime. We don't have to do anything to earn or conjure God's loving presence. All we have to do is show up. Wait a minute, hold on. We don't have to do anything. All we have to do is show up. And you see what I mean about this paradox. And I think it's the same, it's like how we welcome a new baby into our community of faith. On the one hand, the welcome for that baby is completely unconditional. A baby doesn't earn its place in our family. All they have to do is just be here with us. There are no conditions under which a baby has earned his right to a bris. We just do it on the 8th day. Right? So a baby doesn't earn its place in our family. All they have to do is just be here with us. Be here with us. For a tiny newborn baby, though, that's the most difficult, most important thing that they can do. Just be here. That's easier said than done. For a newborn baby, that means breathing in and out the whole time, getting those little lungs online and that little heart beating. It means eating and pooping, which, as anyone who's stayed up with a fussy baby knows, is not effortless. Newborns, they're fragile, they're delicate, they're working hard to settle into this existence. Just be here. That's all you have to do. But you do have to do it. It's hard work, but you can't fail. It's done as soon as you do it. So that's what Paul means by a spiritual circumcision. It means that God is always here, excited to welcome us, to celebrate us, to cuddle us in like a newborn baby. But like that newborn baby, we first have to show up, to be here, to join this wild, messy world. In today's gospel, Jesus draws us into that same invitational paradox. He says, knock and the door will be opened. But you do have to knock. Seek and you will find. But first you need to seek. Ask and you will receive. But how? How do we knock? What does it mean to seek? Well, what does a baby do besides the aforementioned eating and breathing and pooping? What do babies do? Cry. They cry. One of the first things humans do before we can do really anything is we cry out for care and for comfort. Before we have words, we know how to ask, how to seek. I'm hungry. I'm scared. I need you. I need to be held. I need to be loved. I don't know what I need, but And so all of today's images from the gospel position God as a loving parent attending to us like a parent attends to children. And as we probably all know, children are very good at expressing their needs. Anyone who's ever tried to use the bathroom with kids in the house knows they do not need an in-depth scripture study to figure out, knock on the door. And so accompanying these parental images of God is Jesus teaching his followers to pray. And the prayer even starts with a parental address. We translate it as Father. In some translations, it's Abba, which is a more intimate form, like Daddy or Papa. Prayer is how we ask, how we seek. And we are promised that as soon as we do it, God answers with loving presence. I once heard a parable about prayer. I have not been able to find the source, so this is just the Lily version. A man was experiencing a crisis of faith, and he visited a monastery, thinking, oh, that might help. And he told the monk that he was doubting the presence of God in his life. So God never shows up for me. And yeah, he told the monk, I've been praying. Day after day, I pray. I plead for God to be with me. I pour out my heart, and when I don't know what else to say, I just sit there in silence. But God's not there. Where is God in all of this? I ask and I ask, where is the answer? And the monk says, oh, you see, your desire for God's presence, that's God. Your prayers and pleas, that's God. That silence, that's God. Ask and you will be answered. The answer is in the asking. It's easy to get caught up in thinking we have to ask the right way. Even the disciples in this gospel passage asked Jesus, teach us to pray. If they were alive today, they might instead ask Jesus, teach us which meditation apps to download. Teach us which retreats to attend. Teach us which books to buy. Teach us which contemplative practices to do. Teach us which podcasts to listen to. Teach us, teach us. We don't know how. We're not good at all this. Teach us to set aside 15 minutes a day for prayer. Or should it be 30? Is 5 enough? Teach us self-discipline. We sure don't have it. Teach us to put the phone down. Teach us to quiet our minds. Teach us how to keep shopping lists and undrafted emails from frustrating our attempts. Teach us not to be so bad at meditating. Teach us. We are like that man at the monastery who thought his attempts to connect with God were failing, when in reality they were only and exactly what he needed to do. We believe that coming into God's loving presence requires us to do the right thing, say the right words, meditate correctly, adjust our schedule, and come up with some sort of inner self-discipline we've never had before, but will certainly have tomorrow. In the meantime, we're not doing it right. But once we get it right, then we'll earn our way in. We'll unlock God's presence and we'll achieve spiritual belonging. Jesus, teach us how. But a baby does not say, teach me how to belong before I am circumcised. A baby does not say, teach me what to cry so I will be fed. When you desire a deeper prayer life, there is God. When you sit in quiet and spend the whole time thinking about your shopping list, there is God. When you feel frustrated at your attempts, there is God. No time spent seeking God is ever wasted. Jesus tells us, knock and the door will be opened to you. So how do you knock on that door? You might be someone who hears an invitation to contemplative prayer or another faith practice and think, that's not for me. I'm not good at that. I don't know how. If I tried, I'd struggle. I'd fail. But you cannot fail. When it comes to entering God's presence, trying is doing. The promise of our spiritual circumcision is that trust expressed in today's psalm, where the psalm writer says, when I called, you answered me. But the psalm doesn't stop there. The psalm writer continues to ask for what has already been given and thanked for. The psalm writer declares in the same breath, the Lord will make good his purposes for us, then continues to ask God, don't abandon us. Why ask if we trust that God will do it? We ask because we trust. A baby that cries out fully expects its parents to lift it up and attend to it, but it cries anyway, and frequently continues to cry even after you pick it up and try everything. That's just what it's all about. Like a child reaching to be picked up, how do we in our daily lives reach out for that love that will be there to enfold us? No matter what we do, sit quietly, read a prayer book, listen to music, walk in nature, come to church, we cannot do it wrong. As soon as we reach out to God, as soon as we start trying, God is there in our trying, in our reaching. We knock and God flings open the door. We ask and God answers us with grace. God, I don't know what to pray is a prayer. God, just be here with me in this is a prayer. God, I don't get it. This isn't working. I am not experiencing your presence and I don't know what to do is a prayer. One deep breath is a prayer. An invitation to God's presence as you lay awake in bed is a prayer. A moment of gratitude before a meal is a prayer. It's not about our own strengths or successes, our knowledge or self-discipline or routine. Any attempt to connect with God cannot fail because the attempt itself is the connection. We surrender to a love that was always already ours. We accept a gift that is always already given. We surrender. We accept. It's always already ours. Knock and the door will be opened. How will you approach that door? Whether your knock is a timid tap or a desperate pounding, know that it will be opened to you. All you have to do is show up. But you do have to show up.